What's up, everybody? Lawler here. A couple days ago, talked to you guys about 10 people I consider to be the GOATs of Rocket League. I know GOAT is greatest of all time. That makes it just one person, but we're talking about a list of people that we consider some of the best. At the same time, there were some names that I left out of that. People that have yet to win a world championship, and asked a lot of you if we should do that. If we should create a list of 10 players who haven't won a world championship yet. And we decided that based upon the feedback, we should do that. So in today's video, I'm going to be talking to you guys about the top 10 players who have yet or have not yet won a world championship. What's up, everybody? Lawler here, your inside source for all things Rocket League. As you guys saw in the intro, today we're going to be talking about 10 players who haven't won a world championship. Now, there is some classification, some clarity to provide for the GOAT list as well. There is certain rules that I take into account. Otherwise, it would be impossible to actually name some of these. The ability to kind of hone in on things that I think are most important. Those rules for the beginning are going to be, number one, you must have competed or are currently competing in the RLCS. As much as I would like to bring in Ocalid and Amada and stuff like that, their arguments to me are arbitrary because we have not seen them play at a world championship or on a live stage. As much as I know how good they are, I have no definitive results that prove that they will perform on land. There's things like that that I just can't qualify them for. So keep that in mind. Another thing, they have to at least have qualified for at least RLCS World Championships in the past. They need to have attended or have qualified those events in the first place and are currently active or have been active in the past. Another one, must be active in the RLCS for at least 1 year. Yes, we know there's some players that are very, very talented, but this kind of is another disclaimer of the previous rule. Obviously, nobody in Season 10 has been able to play at LAN. Season 9 also kind of a similar regard, which is unfortunate, but those people do not get qualified, in my opinion, just because we have yet to see the results. As always, consistency matters, whether it be appearance in Worlds or performances in Worlds and other regions, as a reiteration, like Middle East, as well as others, will have potential in the future, but as of right now, we just haven't seen it, so it's hard for me to classify it. With that said, this list sucked. Being completely honest, I asked you guys this question without realizing how difficult this was going to be. We ended up doing this on my stream with a bunch of people, twitch.tv/Lawler. If you'd like to come hang out with us, we stream every day by Tuesday. A lot of these conversations have been really fun to have with chat, but it does not make it any easier. This list was an absolute pain in the butt to compile, so bear with me. As always, if you guys have your own opinions on the list, or if you like the conversation pieces, drop them in the comments down below. Additional ideas for videos and stuff now that we've got a little bit of a break for the RLCS championships. Let me know what you guys want me to talk about. I'm down to discuss things. As always, Sundays will be Q&A videos, so make sure you pay attention to that. With that said, these are my top 10 players who haven't won an RLCS World Championship. Not saying they couldn't do it in the future. My number one player to have never won a World Championship is going to be the one and only Fireburner. We talk about people who have competed or are currently competing. Obviously, Fireburner is not currently competing, stopped after Season 7, although he did come back as a sub in Season 9 for Cloud9, where he did get a W over the Sonics, a team that was top 3. But Fireburner obviously has hung up the cleats for quite a while now, focused on coaching, currently with version 1. But to provide some historical evidence for Fireburner, obviously known as the 90 Ted or the 50-50 God, obviously a very, very consistent player, but unfortunately was never able to claim the title under Energy or Kings of Urban. He has attended every world championship while he was competing at the high level, from Season 1 all the way to Season 7. And the results do vary quite a bit. 7th, 8th, 5, 6th, 3rd, 9, 10, 2nd, 7, 8th, and 5, 6. But that is 7 world championships in a row to make it. It's pretty incredible. He's the only other person to do it throughout his career, other than Gary G, which we mentioned in the GOAT video. Just could not get that trophy. So unfortunate for him. His reign did end at DreamHack Valencia, where they did take 2nd place. So started coach in Season 8, and unfortunately never got to see the man compete at the big stage again, at least at that level. At number 2, fan favorite, and rightfully so, is going to be Rizzo. Rizzo has been here since Season 1, but he didn't qualify. And we didn't get to see the multiple appearances really until Season 2, where he was the best performing North America team with Take 3 alongside Zane Jackie and Insolences. From there, a little bit of skips here and there, but was in Season 4 at 4th, at Season 5, 7 to 8th, at Season 6, 9th to 10th, and Season 7 at 2nd. Obviously, they had the almost scary Season 8, And then in season 9, they were first in their region, but we never got a LAN. Many people consider them one of the favorites and definitely the North American favorite. I still think they probably would have lost to Vitality personally. And then in season 10, if he really wanted to continue to compete instead of retiring, we would have saw him at another world championship, and who knows how he would have done there. So you're telling me a guy that's been competing since season 1 has been to 5 world championships and a potential to go to another 2. That's pretty incredible, and unfortunately never got to lift the trophy, although very close in season 7. At number 3 is going to be his teammate in JNaps. Obviously, JNaps came into the scene a little bit later, and this is kind of a difficult one. I personally put more emphasis and value on historical and longevity as compared to just like, yeah, it's the knapsack, he's really, really good. And that's a personal preference thing, that's a subjective thing, but obviously JNaps has to be on this list. JNaps pretty much has done everything that Rizzo has done. He just did it a couple seasons later. For those that don't know, obviously JNaps, an incredible player that played on PlayStation alongside a team of people like Dapper and Miho and Timmy and a plethora of players that were really, really good that made the transition over to PC. And JNaps obviously came in at season 4 for G2, and as you guys know, has all the same results as Rizzo in the World Championship. Obviously, E-League titles and that aside, both players very, very talented and are surprising that they have not won a World Championship. I do feel this new G2 squad with the iteration that may come in, whether they stick with Dries or if they go with a new player, international or otherwise, this offseason, should be able to make a pretty incredible run because JNaps in Chicago are still extremely talented. At number 4, and this one was a good argument. There was someone in my chat that actually brought this up about the importance of result as well. Obviously, there's people that have done it numerous times, but this player who did it back to back to back had nothing but a top 3 performance. It's got to be the one and only Metsinaris, the one who didn't get on the negative end of the worst trade in Rocket League history, which many would argue. Metsinaris had 3 World Championship appearances back to back to back in season 4, 5, and 6, where he took 2nd, 3rd, and 3rd, most notably, obviously, under the method/complexity names. But top 3 performances in every single one is actually a really big deal. You look at the history in a lot of these lists, even people like Fireburner, where top 3 only happened twice in their entire career. And Metsinaris did it back to back to back seasons, which is insane. And I basically sided with someone in chat. Someone in chat made that argument about the performances mattering a little bit more than just being able to attend and get knocked out, you know, at 9, 10 or whatever it may be. And I'm like, you know what? I do agree with that. So Metsinaris is my number 4. I mean, what more can you want out of season 5 than this clip?
Let's go. Feel that. I'm letting it go.
At number 5, another player who's been doing it for a really long time and was accidentally told was a female is going to be Farah. If you guys don't remember Farah's introduction, Farah's also been around for quite a while, actually competing in season 1 and 2 as well. Wasn't able to compete and qualify under the names Rare Penguins and Luminance back in season 1 and season 2, but does have 6 World Championship appearances. Came in as season 3 with the Leftovers. Was informed during qualifiers while we're casting from Cloud Fuel. Shout out to Cloud Fuel. Obviously, without him, Rocket League esports would not be a thing. That Farah was a girl wasn't the case. Farah's most definitely a dude and an awesome one at that. But in season 3, 4th place with the Leftovers, Snasky alongside that roster. You got season 4, 5th to 6th, season 6, 7 to 8, season 7, 5th to 8th, season 8, 7th to 8th, and season 10 would have made it with Solary as well. You're talking over many different rosters, many different iterations, and the longevity of Farah's career. A lot of people think that Farah's washed up, and even though joked as the Airbus, can most definitely air roll when needed. But on the field and as a captain, very, very valuable as a player, and still super talented, even though people don't really agree with it. Farah has seen moments almost like Yu-Gi-Oh! At times with the inaccuracy, but again, doing so much on the field that people don't really give credit for. But Farah, to me, is an absolute standout and an absolute legend that has yet to lift the trophy. Number 6, another throwback, and simply because of the consistency and the different roster iterations, a little bit of credit's going to go to the German in Pashi 90 at number 6. who has been here since season 1 and most recently actually made a comeback. If you guys don't know, Pashy90 is streaming primarily in German again for like 200-300 people average. It's been awesome. We did a Rocket Talk with him. If you guys want to go back and check that out, me and Pashy sat down and chatted about him coming back into the scene and stuff. Link should be maybe somewhere in the description or up here possibly. But Pashy has attended 4 World Championships in Season 1, 7-8, where they got reverse swept as Mocket by Genesis, which Quinn will never let Pashy live that down. In Season 2, they took 2nd, where they lost to obviously Flipside Tactics 4-1 in both games. And then from there, a little bit of shakiness, and then just trying to find their footing. Pashy and the rest of the team really solidified the counterattack heavy playstyle, where defense was a primary and then a big counterattack and overwhelming pressure, while the team was trying to rotate and get boost. Pretty much solidified that, but was known for being kind of like a scout, even though it wasn't the most accurate. Most people give him the credit of finding and developing Devo and Violent Panda, even though they were already subs and talent for other teams. And it was just like, yeah, they're really good, but they're subs. Let's bring them in. So kind of want to clear that up, but primarily Pashy's just been doing it for a long time, or did it for a long time, and would be higher on the list if the performances were a little bit longer and a little bit more consistent. But the people ahead of him just outperform when it comes to the classifications that I consider important. You know, longevity, the ability to obviously get high performances or consistent performances. I think that's the biggest thing about Farah, is they never took last place, which is actually a pretty big deal. At number 7 is going to be Shazet, the other Frenchman. He has been here obviously since season 1, for those that don't know. Didn't qualify for the team shoot and goal, was actually their sub at the time, so technically didn't play in season 1, but did qualify in season 2 under Red Eye with Dedu and Tequila, 2 names most people probably have never heard of. 5 World Championship appearances. Season 4 was 5-6. Season 6 was 7-8. Season 7 was 5-8. Season 8 was 7-8. And season 10, again, similar alongside Farah. We don't know how it would have went with Farah, Shazet, and Astral. But this one was kind of the decision maker between Pashy. Even though Shazet's done it a little bit longer, Shazet has never gotten to that kind of top 4, top 3 podium level finish, while Pashy has. And that's kind of the earlier qualifications. While I will say that Shazet's path is a little bit more difficult just because the game has developed more, Shazet also, and this one was kind of a tough one for me, just hasn't made it to that level. Even though Shazet is one of the best positional players in the world, in my opinion, just hasn't really had the qualifications to lift the trophy, which is unfortunate because he does have the talent. He makes any team he's on better. So unfortunately for Shazet, has not been able to lift the trophy despite 5 World Championships and technically a 6th if things would have went according to plan for this year. At number 8, a player that probably people are going to get upset for putting so low, it's just because he's kind of a newer player in the grand scheme of things, is going to be Chicago, the 3rd and final player of the G2 roster. Chicago, obviously plenty talented. Came in for season 5 in the RLRS for Dignitas before he was quickly snatched up by Evil Geniuses in season 6, where they took 5th to 6th at the World Championship. After that, he's like, yeah, I can do better, and went over to G2. And the rest, as we know, 3 World Championship appearances. Total would have technically possibly been 4 if they would have got to go to season 9 and season 10. So in season 6, 5 to 6, and in season 7, going to 2nd place before they lost to Vitality. So Chicago, obviously plenty talented, very, very good, and has a lot to look forward to in the future, as I feel like Reed is just getting started. But the sample size to me is just, as much as I want to give qualifications for season 9 and season 10, those are null, because at the World Championship, things change. People have hot streaks. Different things happen. And yes, you qualified to get there, but how things would have went is just a question mark. And I can't use question marks for evidence. So unfortunate there, but you did still make it, which to me is part of the accolades. At number 9, another OG and now a coach of Alpine Gaming is going to be Mystic, and one that gets looked over quite a bit despite the performances that he had. Mystic, for those that don't know, did start in season 1, but mostly got note for the season 2 performance. For those that don't know, Mystic was actually part of the OG Northern Gaming team. Northern Gaming was a roster that had Remco and Greasy and Devo and a bunch of other really talented players, but not many people know that Mystic was actually part of that roster, and did the exact same thing the next season with Mocket, where again, a top 3, or in this case, a top 2 performance. Super close multiple times, where a 3rd place finish and a 2nd place finish almost rivals that of Metsonaris, who I have way up on the other side of the list. The difference here, though, is that there was a 2-season gap before he made it back in season 6, where he placed 5th to 6th before hanging it up and going into coaching and everything else that he does behind the scenes, which he does incredibly well. When your worst performance at a world championship is 5-6, to me, that deserves quite a bit of credit. So Mystic, I'm here to tell you, is one that you should probably pay attention to a little bit more, especially earlier on in the career. Does still have some land performances, obviously, with like WSOE and everything else, but I'm trying to leave those classifications a little bit more on the outside. I'm putting very heavy emphasis on just the RLCS, even though there is, again, tons of players that are and can be accredited to this list. To me, if you're not qualifying or playing in the RLCS, yes, you may have performances at DreamHacks and otherwise. Yes, you may be a new player that is performing extremely well, but to me, the thing that I hold dear most is RLCS because it is the peak. It's the pinnacle. It's the one everybody plays for. Last and certainly not least, one of my favorite people in the entire scene has got to be Jacob, the one that is credited most for saying that Garrett is but he's been here since obviously season 1 and is still competing to this day, unlike some of the other ones in this list, like Pashy and Mystic. But obviously the performances were never always the best. Energy obviously had their struggles, and after that Energy roster, he wasn't able to find more success. Obviously with 72 PC and all the different iterations that it's gone through, they've been competitive. They've been in the, I guess, in the striking range and have played upset here and there, but not enough for me to ever consider them like a top 10 team in the region, which is unfortunate because I love Jacob to death. I think he's amazing. Cobb, when he's on the job, Sizzle my Cobb in the 2v2 situation, like some of the best experiences. Jacob is just a lovable goofball and has some performance to show it. Season 1, he took 7th to 8th. Season 2, he took 5 to 6. Season 3, they took 3rd. And then in Season 4, 9-10 when they lost to the Chiefs. And then that was the kind of end of Jacob era with Energy before he went and found some other stuff. Rogue, they got relegated down to the RLRS, I think, in that season. And then from there has been battling back from the RLRS, trying to get back in. And you see that kind of back and forth. And the only teams that have really had that kind of success are really like FC Barcelona when it was Bluey and Devo that came back. So it's really tough to do. And I don't discredit Jacob for that reason. It's just, it is pretty crazy to think that he's been here since the very beginning, the OG days, and is still competing at a pretty high level to this day is actually pretty immaculate. So Jacob, you round out my 10th and final player. Again, a lot of history with a lot of these players, and some people may not know what they really accomplished way back, and that's fine. But I do urge you, if you guys have never gone back, and I'm going to say it straight up, I apologize for all the casting from season 1s to like 3. Season 1, 2, 3 casting is pretty rough. Bunch of production issues. There's literally times in season 2 where I'm just yelling because like I can't hear myself because the crowd's too loud and there's no way to, like, just audio tech issues that were crazy and just a bunch of other things. But I do forewarn you, the casting is pretty rough in the early seasons, but go back and watch those world championships. You can really appreciate like how much history actually this game has in the past 5 years, as well as just, it's cool to see how much the meta and everything else has shifted. Maybe I'll do that for video. Maybe that's something that you guys want to see. It's talking about the different metas and like the scenarios and the people that kind of revolutionized the differences between. And as much as people say, like, I'm from OC and I've never heard the double touch called the Devo, apparently none of you have really watched the Season 3 World Championship because it was nonstop. All the players and all the pro players that I talked to all idolized the hell out of Devo and him hitting double touches. So maybe some of y'all are just too new to the scene. I don't know. But I remember meeting the OCE lads for the first time, and they wouldn't call it anything but a Devo. I mean, heck, in some of their scrims to this day, they still call certain mechanics by player names instead of the actual mechanic. 1, because of OCE banter, and 2, because it's funny. Any ideas for videos and stuff, let me know in the comments down below, along with your own list, maybe some players that you think I'm missing. Again, as I reiterate, RLCS to me is priority. There is certain classifications that if I didn't put those disclaimers or those certain rules, this list would have taken literally forever. I struggled with trying to make this. It was not easy. And I don't know what I really got myself into until we started doing it. So with that said, that is going to wrap it up for this video. If you guys do enjoy this type of content, as always, make sure to give it a thumbs up, hit subscribe, turn on notifications, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.